The fall of a regime. Assad's Syria crumbles. Syria, once a beacon of stability in a turbulent region, now lies in ruins. The vibrant cities that once bustled with life and culture are now reduced to mere shadows of their former selves, with buildings destroyed and streets filled with smoke and debris. The Assad regime, once thought unshakable, has crumbled under the weight of rebellion and internal strife. Years of civil war and relentless conflict have eroded the foundations of what was once a formidable government. Cities lie shattered, their streets echoing with the ghosts of war. The remnants of battles fought and lost are visible everywhere, from the bullet-riddled walls to the abandoned homes. The Syrian people, caught in the crossfire, have endured unimaginable suffering. Families have been torn apart, and countless lives have been lost in the relentless violence that has gripped the nation. Millions have fled, seeking refuge in foreign lands, their dreams of home reduced to ashes. The refugee crisis has become one of the most pressing humanitarian issues of our time, with countless Syrians scattered across the globe, yearning for a place to call home. The collapse of Assad's regime marks a turning point in the Middle East, its reverberations felt far and wide. The geopolitical landscape of the region has been irrevocably altered, with neighboring countries and global powers scrambling to adapt to the new reality. The swiftness of the regime's downfall has shocked the world. Analysts and observers are left grappling with the rapid changes, trying to make sense of the new dynamics at play. Rebel forces, once dismissed as ragtag militias, have gained ground with astonishing speed. Their determination and resilience have proven to be formidable, challenging the once dominant regime. Their victories, fueled by popular anger and foreign support, have exposed the fragility of Assad's grip on power. The regime's inability to quell the uprising has laid bare its vulnerabilities. The Syrian army, once the pride of the nation, has fractured, its ranks depleted by defections and casualties. The once unified military force is now a shadow of its former self, struggling to maintain cohesion. The once feared security apparatus, riddled with corruption and incompetence, has proven no match for the ferocity of the uprising. The regime's internal decay has been laid bare for all to see. The fall of Assad marks the end of an era. His family's decades-long rule, characterized by authoritarianism and brutality, has left an indelible scar on Syria's soul. His family's decades-long rule, characterized by authoritarianism and brutality, has left an indelible scar on Syria's soul. The memories of oppression and fear will linger for generations to come. The country now faces an uncertain future, its fate hanging precariously in the balance. The path ahead is fraught with challenges, as Syria grapples with rebuilding and healing from the wounds of war. The power vacuum left in the wake of Assad's demise threatens to plunge the region into further chaos, with neighboring countries and global powers vying for influence amidst the ruins. The struggle for control and stability in Syria will have far-reaching implications for the entire Middle East. Power vacuum, a region on the brink, teetering on the edge of chaos and uncertainty. With Assad's iron fist loosened, a dangerous power vacuum emerges in the heart of the Middle East. The once unyielding grip of Assad's regime is now but a shadow, leaving behind a fractured and vulnerable nation. Like predators circling a wounded prey, regional powers eye the fractured nation, their ambitions masked by pronouncements of peace. Each player, with their own agenda, seeks to carve out a piece of the Syrian puzzle, further complicating an already volatile situation. Iran, Assad's longtime ally, sees its influence waning, its grip on the Levant slipping away. The strategic foothold it once held is now under threat, as new dynamics emerge in the region. Hezbollah, Iran's proxy in Lebanon, finds itself increasingly isolated, its supply lines threatened, its future uncertain. The group's ability to project power and influence is now in jeopardy, as the regional landscape shifts. Israel, ever wary of Iranian encroachment, watches with a mixture of apprehension and opportunity. The potential for a weakened Iran is enticing, but the chaos that follows Assad's fall could bring new threats to its doorstep. The collapse of Assad's regime disrupts Iran's ability to threaten Israel's northern border, but also raises the specter of chaos and the potential for weapons to fall into the wrong hands. The power vacuum could be filled by extremist groups, posing a new set of challenges for Israel. The Syrian Kurds, long oppressed under Assad, see a chance for autonomy, but their aspirations risk inflaming tensions with Turkey, which views them as a threat. The Kurds' quest for self-determination could ignite a broader conflict with their powerful neighbor. The battle for Syria's future is not merely a regional affair. The interests of global powers are deeply intertwined with the fate of this war-torn nation, making the stakes even higher. Global powers, their interests intertwined with the fate of the Middle East, find themselves drawn into the vortex. The geopolitical chessboard is in flux, with each move carrying significant consequences. The United States, haunted by the specter of past interventions, grapples with the consequences of its diminished role in the region. The legacy of previous actions looms large, influencing current policy decisions and strategic calculations. Russia, sensing an opportunity to reassert its influence, seeks to fill the void left by America's retreat. The Kremlin's ambitions in the Middle East are clear, as it moves to solidify its presence and expand its reach. The stage is set for a dangerous new chapter in the Middle East's turbulent history, a chapter where the stakes are higher than ever before. The outcome of this struggle will shape the region's future for generations to come, with far-reaching implications for global stability. Iran's weakening grip, a shift in the balance of power. The fall of Assad's regime in Syria has dealt a significant blow to Iran's regional ambitions. For years, Iran has relied on Syria as a strategic ally, a conduit for its influence and a buffer against its adversaries. The collapse of Assad's government has not only disrupted this alliance but has also sent shockwaves through the region, altering the dynamics of power. For decades, Syria served as a crucial linchpin in Iran's axis of resistance, providing a land bridge to Hezbollah in Lebanon, and extending Iranian influence to the shores of the Mediterranean. This strategic corridor allowed Iran to project power far beyond its borders, challenging the influence of other regional powers. With Assad gone, this vital link is severed, leaving Iran's allies exposed and its own strategic position weakened. The loss of this connection has forced Iran to rethink its strategy and seek alternative routes to support its allies, a task fraught with challenges and uncertainties. Hezbollah, once a formidable force in Lebanon, now faces an existential threat. The group's strength has always been bolstered by the steady flow of arms and support from Iran through Syria. Without this lifeline, Hezbollah's ability to maintain its military prowess and political influence is in jeopardy. The loss of its Syrian supply lines jeopardizes its ability to rearm and sustain its military capabilities. This disruption has left Hezbollah scrambling to find new ways to secure the resources it needs to continue its operations, a task that is becoming increasingly difficult. The group, already stretched thin by its involvement in the Syrian conflict, now confronts the prospect of fighting a two-front war against both Israel and its domestic rivals in Lebanon. This dual threat has put immense pressure on Hezbollah, forcing it to divert resources and manpower to multiple fronts. The weakening of Iran's influence in Syria has emboldened its regional adversaries, particularly Israel. With Iran's grip loosening, Israel sees an opportunity to assert its dominance and counter the threats posed by Hezbollah and other Iranian-backed forces. With the Syrian army in disarray and Iranian forces distracted, Israel has greater freedom to operate against Hezbollah targets in Syria and Lebanon. This newfound freedom has allowed Israel to conduct more aggressive operations, targeting key positions and disrupting supply lines. This has led to an increase in Israeli airstrikes against suspected Iranian weapons shipments and military installations, raising the risk of a wider conflagration. The intensification of these strikes has heightened tensions in the region, with each attack bringing the possibility of a broader conflict closer. Iran, however, is unlikely to relinquish its influence in Syria without a fight. The Islamic Republic has invested heavily in propping up the Assad regime and has vowed to continue supporting its allies in Syria. This commitment underscores Iran's determination to maintain its foothold in the region, despite the mounting challenges. The Islamic Republic has invested heavily in propping up the Assad regime and has vowed to continue supporting its allies in Syria. This unwavering support highlights Iran's strategic interests in the region and its willingness to go to great lengths to preserve them. The potential for a direct confrontation between Israel and Iran on Syrian soil remains a real and dangerous possibility, one that could ignite a wider regional conflict. As both sides continue to maneuver for advantage, the risk of miscalculation or escalation looms large, threatening to plunge the region into further turmoil. In this chapter, we'll delve into the complex relationships between the United States, Russia, and Turkey. These three nations, each with their own strategic interests and historical contexts, often find themselves at the center of global geopolitical dynamics. From military alliances to economic partnerships, Their interactions shape much of the international landscape. Let's explore how these relationships have evolved over time and what they mean for the future of global politics. As tensions rise, the stakes grow higher. The threat is no longer just a distant possibility, it is becoming a palpable reality. Nations are on high alert, and the world watches with bated breath. The prospect of conflict looms large. What once seemed unthinkable now feels dangerously close. The implications of such a scenario are chilling, leaving many to wonder how we reached this point. In the midst of geopolitical maneuvering, it's easy to forget the human element. Families are torn apart, lives are disrupted, and communities are left in ruins. The true cost of conflict is measured not in dollars or strategic gains, but in the suffering of ordinary people. Looking ahead, the future remains uncertain. The world stands on edge, hoping for peace yet bracing for the worst. It's a delicate balance, and the choices made in the coming days will shape the course of history.